Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the country and in the world, and whether you're joining us live. And it's much more fun live because all sorts of exciting things happen, like we dump you out. And if not, if you're on the recording, then you'll see us on the recording as well. And thanks, Tina. I think Tina is back on again because Tina was messaging me. She works for us, and she was saying, "Oh, you know, the event just stopped." Yes, we know that. It wasn't me. I promise. So today, where's Alex gone? Today is a webinar about where to find Delphi developers. And specifically, this is one of the things that comes up, and it's actually a very popular webinar. We had several thousand people, over 1,000 people register for this webinar. We do get a lot of people register for the webinars now. Over the couple of years that I've been doing developer relations, it's become something that's been a bit more prevalent. I think people are more comfortable with joining online and virtual meetings. No more trouble, and you know, makes life a lot easier not having to drive to places. But more importantly, you know, the in-person events like the Delphi Summit, plug again for Marco, is a very important thing as well. But the thing I hear when I go and meet people, and I know my friends here, which I'll introduce in a second, hear the same problem, is they can't find, you know, businesses say, well, we want to use Delphi, but we can't find Delphi developers, which is frustrating for us because we have the opposite problem with Delphi developers saying, well, I can't find work for Delphi developer, you know, for myself as a Delphi developer. Well, these two things can't be true. They can't both be true. You can't have no Delphi developers and no work for the Delphi developers. There must be one of them must be inaccurate. And so it's something that we're here to talk about today. Antonio and myself are here to represent Embarcadero. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around clockwise on my screen. So the first person I want to introduce is Marco G from GDK. Say hi, Marco.
Hello, everyone.
And many of you will recognize him as entrepreneur and one half of the big bosses of GDK, excellent consultancy. What would you call yourself? Delphi First Consultancy / Development House / I don't know.
You're doing good so far.
Yeah,
all of the above.
As long as it's Delphi, basically. Yeah. Consultancy, expert services, upgrades, a lot. Yeah.
And I apologize to everybody if my voice cracks up a bit because I flew back from Denmark at the weekend, and the problem with going into in-person conferences is you end up picking up in-person things like colds and viruses. You know, it's much safer when you're a developer sitting in a little cube somewhere away from the outside world. The other guest that we've got with us is, and I'm going to try and pronounce your surname, Alex, but I'm sure I'm going to get it wrong. Alex Ruiz, is that
Ruiz? Yes, that's perfect.
Correct. Yeah,
that's
living in Texas is helping. And do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself, Alex? What it is that you do and what your company is?
Yeah, of course. Well, I have been a Delphi developer for a very long time. I actually participated in some of the Delphi development itself with Delphi 6, Delphi 7, Kylix, and many other of our beloved products. Now I run a consultancy firm as well. It's a software development firm that where we do a lot of nearshore outsourcing development. We focus mainly in Delphi.
Excellent. And the other guest, I better not forget him, otherwise I'll never hear the last of it, because he's got direct lines to me about 10 different social media platforms. But the other guest is Antonio Zapata. Antonio, do you want to explain what you do and who you are?
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Antonio Zapater, and I'm a consultant in the Embarcadero. So I work for Embarcadero. And my main task, we could say, in Embarcadero is to help people use our products the best way possible, and to understand also how they can squeeze every new feature and explain to them how they can leverage all our tooling. Also going to a bunch of events. I mean, a couple of days ago, I was with Marco in London as well, doing a live event. And also we had the Delphi Summit coming over. So it's pretty much just to let people know and understand what they can achieve with our products. Also creating a bunch of technical documentation, demos about our new features, etc., etc. One of the things we're going to be talking about today, which is the new guide that has been a collective effort, internal collective effort with different consultants in Embarcadero to provide let's say a getting started guide for people that are not very familiar with Rad Studio, but more on that later. And I think that's enough. Otherwise, I won't shut up.
Yeah, and actually, I've been told that people can't see our cameras, which is a real tragedy. So I'm trying to work out how we make it happen. I thought that it did it automatically, but apparently it does not. So let me just see how we do that. And this is what happens when producer Martha cannot join us. Here we go. Everyone, view, everyone. Well, it tells me that we're showing the cameras, so I don't quite understand. It is sharing again now.
Yeah, it's working, I think. From
you
what
can
I
see the
comments.
Can someone in the chat just tell us if they're not seeing the webcam? Because you probably will see my desktop, which is over here, but you should also see the cameras as well. So
yeah, we're getting reports that they see video.
they see video.
Video is back now. Yeah.
Well, there you go. So really, you know, I reiterate once again how much I hate GoToWebinar with a passion. And even though I've been using it for years and I mostly know what it does, it still goes wrong regularly. And now my camera's blurring. And the best platform is Restream, which we really should have done, but apparently no, we're not going to do that. So really, as I said before, the weird thing for us is that when people say things like, "Oh, we can't find Delphi developers," and you know, we've got this project, and for us it's a problem. Embarcadero, it's a problem for us because you know, it's one of the reasons why people will say, I need to swap to something else, because they feel like they can get developers from elsewhere more easily than they can for Delphi, which is not at all true. And I think that you know, it's a blocker, it's a frustration for us. But then I get people saying the exact opposite when we go to, you know, I get people email from sometimes saying, I would stick with Delphi, but I can't find a job. Alex, you actually kind of specialize in taking people's you know, projects and saying, don't worry, I'll make you some developers. Is that right? Is that an accurate description of what you do? You build them from, you know, build the project and I will bring you some developers. Is that what you do? Or
so yeah, if I can answer that one, yeah, for us it's of course an opportunity if someone can't find Delphi developers, but because they come to us simply enough. On the other hand, we don't have the same problem in finding Delphi developers, but that's the topic I think we will talk about today as well. Is that if you can't find them, you can create them, and you can if you can develop, it's really easy to make you a Delphi developer. And there are a lot of angles to that as well. So if you want to do that, what's what's in it for them? So if someone programs in another language, why should I switch, etc., etc. So there are a lot of questions to that, but it's something that we see. I at least see regularly that companies are saying, indeed, we have a Delphi application, it's still working for 10, 20, 30 years sometimes, and we can't find the people. We can't find the developers to continue with the application. And now, of course, we can help them, but sometimes that's not feasible and they want to have in-house developers. But yeah, so the question from the company side of view, we get regularly, yes. I don't know how it's with you, Alex, but for us, we hear this quite a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And what we have done, and this is a success story that I would like to share with you, is taking the expertise of developers from other languages and turning them into Delphi developers, and quite successful Delphi developers is what we have been focusing on. The truth of the matter is that not all universities, at least in the Americas, do Delphi training, but a lot of them do, for example, C# courses. So taking a developer that comes from C# from the .NET world is and making them productive in Delphi, we have found that it's quite easy. There are a lot of similarities in the language itself. Both of them have object-oriented development. They both follow the same paradigm. I consider C# and Delphi sister languages. They're at the end of the day have very, very common roots. The development model is component-based. Both of them have a very strong IDE with really great support. And when it comes to, for example, Windows development, which is what we find in a lot of cases with applications that we maintain or that we help grow or migrate for our customers, they're for the most part Windows-based. So the developers that we have been turning into Delphi again come from C#, and what we have done is developed courses or develop programs inside of Aumenta to turn this expertise into Delphi.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that you would see the two languages as being sister languages. They have the same father, so they're quite
They
literally
have the
sister.
same father, yes.
I mean, my experience of C# is that it's like Delphi, only a bit more complicated. And I'm not just saying that because, you know, I have Embarcadero on my shirt, but I really do think that, you know, when you look at other languages, I think they are more difficult to do the things that you can do quite easily in Delphi. I always say, and I should be careful how I say this because I am, in theory, a developer advocate for C++ Builder as well. But I always say C++ is the answer you get when you say, how difficult can I make computer programming? And C++ is the answer. But it is, you know, the watchmaker's version of a development language. You can do anything with it. But I have never found that with Delphi there wasn't something I couldn't do. There's some things that are hard to do that maybe, you know, Python can do something a little bit easy in those areas. But from a practical point of view, when you hear people saying, "Oh yeah, we're not going to use Delphi, we're going to use Python for this project," I just question what the decision-making process was, because really, when you're looking at something like Python, it's got so many opportunities for it to not be secure in an enterprise environment. It's a scripting language. There's no you know, no way of validating that a script is what it was when it was shipped by me as the developer. You can, you know, compile it and make it a compiled Python script, but at the end of the day, the decompilers in Python are like that, like any .NET language or any other intermediately compiled language. You can get out the you know, insider knowledge of what those programs do. So I find it frustrating, and we all know Niklaus Wirth, when he came up with Pascal, basically wanted to make it as simple as possible. And as Marco G says in his book, you know, when the next version came out on Modular 2, I think it was, or something like that, he said, "Here's all the things I took out of the language, you know, to simplify it."
Exactly.
That's right. Yeah, I'm not
It is. Yeah,
misremembering.
that's absolutely right. Yeah, yeah. When he showed the modular 2, it was indeed. First he showed, I think, 3 lines. So this is what we added in the new version. And then a complete slide with 10 or 20 lines. And this is what we removed. And I think that's still the one of the strengths of Delphi as well, is that it's clean, and the simplicity of the language still is the same as, well, maybe the first versions. And I think that's also beneficial because it's easy to learn. The language is quite structured, and yes, Niklaus Wirth made it for teaching, but also at that point, the Pascal language then, also for business-like applications, and that's still the case, especially if you're writing something for Windows. I don't think there's anything else that can compete with Delphi if you target Windows-specific applications. It's just so fast. You don't have dependencies. There are so many benefits of it that, yeah, C# is maybe from the same originator, but it's not exactly the same, right? So Delphi is still so strong in that part. The thing is, of course, and that you mentioned Python, is that there are other areas where especially young people find it maybe difficult to see Delphi as a language for the future. So like AI or web development. And I think that's the tricky part right now, and maybe the challenge for all of us. So how to sort of turn that around, because it's something that we see sometimes as well, that young people coming from the university, they think that Delphi is dead. They think that they need to work with, as they say, a modern language. But if you show them what we do and show them what Delphi can do, then they will turn around. But I think it's mainly the perception they have that is a problem for us all.
Yeah. In my opinion, the longevity of Delphi applications is sometimes perceived as something not so positive. And in my opinion, this is so great. You really and when you're in our area, you see applications written, like you said, 25, 20 years ago, and the applications still run and compile in the latest versions of Windows. And to me, this is a really big plus. We have been helping several companies take their investment in Delphi, I don't know, Delphi 5, Delphi 6, and turning them into the latest version of Delphi. But the applications were still compiling, and they were still running. I don't know, they were probably created with Windows 2000, but they're still running in Windows 11, an operating system that was not even planned, 25 years ago. So that perception of it's a legacy language is not active. It is something that we as a community need to be able to change.
Yeah, I mean, it's a problem as well. I think that people have got this perception that Delphi's old, and I actually did a webinar recently where I was talking about different projects that are written in Delphi. By the way, biggest blog post by far in terms of traffic. So a lot of people, read that post. We literally had hundreds of thousands of hits on it. It was marketing like, very, very pleased about that. But it does make something clear, which is, it makes me very cross when you see these indexes like TIOBE and things like that, where they're saying, oh, the dinosaurs are making a comeback. And I showed in the webinar, which really annoyed me, and I'm being very careful not to swear out loud, but they were in the top 10. We were actually the fourth newest language, because JavaScript's the same age. C++ is older. C is much older, and many of the other languages, they're still going strong. Nobody ever says, well, why are people still using C++? But they have this thing. I don't get it. What the thing is about, oh, you're using Delphi as if we've just said, I've kidnapped your mother or something. It's just really weird. And I think, we're here because we understand it. Someone say my face is blurry. It's probably best. That's what I'm going to say. But it is frustrating, because the key point about Delphi is that people are forgetting when they're thinking about going to another language is, what's the strength of Delphi? You write the code once, it genuinely, you can then recompile that. If you use FireMonkey, you can recompile that. It will work on Mac OS with virtually no changes. And in fact, if you code it very carefully, no changes. In fact, Antonio, you had a demo, didn't you? What your was it Web Stencils we had working on iOS or something like? You
Yeah.
wrote a version.
I mean, it was a very, very small proof of concept, but we made Web Stencils, which is the new template engine we launched recently, and it was compatible out of the box with all platforms. Exactly same code. We could reuse it in Mac OS, iOS, Android.
You actually wrote it originally with Windows app, right? That's
Yeah.
how it was done.
Originally it was a Windows app, but we, for fun and giggles, we tried to use it as well. Of course, it didn't make any sense UI-wise because it wasn't ready for that. But yeah, we tested it, and without changing one line of code, it worked in all platforms.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, that's unheard of if you think about all the languages. There are plenty of languages that are multi-platform, of course, but they are interpreted like .NET, etc. So you need like a middle or call it VM or whatever with Java. But you also have all the ones that are, for example, Golang that you can compile for as well, pretty much any platform. But I think Delphi or Radit Studio is the only one that you can, of course, create web services as well if you want to, but also you can create UIs. So for me, it's the only language that you can do pretty much everything you're aiming for. And also, as Alex mentioned earlier, when someone tells me I cannot find Delphi developers, I posted a job offer and haven't got not even one CV or anything. And I tend to tell people that think about how you're crafting your job application, because if you're gonna post, I'm searching for a Delphi developer that knows VCL and something very, very specific. That's going to be difficult not only on Delphi. If you're searching for a .NET 4.8 developer that knows about some specific library, of course, it's going to be tricky to just find that person. And what you need in your company is good developers, because usually a good developer knows more than one language. And someone that is highly specialized in one language, I mean, of course, you're going to have a language that you feel more comfortable with. But if you're a good developer, you're going to know more than one language. And that's the kind of developer you need to aim for. Don't define or describe your specific application in the job you're posting. Explain what your application does and what's the type of developer you need. But don't be that specific about Delphi, VCL, or even BDE, let's say, because that's also another problem. And I will finish with this. Sorry. A lot of times, I mean, it's great, as you just mentioned, all of you. You can have code for like 25 years ago, and the application is still you can still compile the code with minor tweaks in the latest version. But also, you need to think about what you're offering a developer you're trying to hire. You could be even in the latest version. I'm not even going to mention that if you post something saying I'm looking for a Delphi 7 developer and I'm not finding anyone, I mean, that's not a very appealing job offer for any developer. So you need to put yourself as well in the developer's shoes and think, is this job offer appealing? Not only at the money level, because I mean, at the end of the day, we all work for money, but at the same time, we also work for something that motivates us. And if your application follows very old patterns and very old technologies and is not appealing, the technology you're using, maybe that's, again, one of the potential reasons why people are not deciding to go with that job application. Maybe you need to think about modernizing your application. Still with Delphi, you can still do it. You can create APIs. You can maybe create a mobile application. You can create now websites with web stencils. You can are you integrating DevOps in your pipelines? Those are things that you can leverage AI. Are you creating Docker images? Things that could also improve the job post you're creating, because maybe someone says, okay, maybe I'm not very interested in Delphi, but look, these people are using, I don't know, integration with GitHub Actions, or they have all this very cool unit testing system going on. So that's also something very important, that you need to think that the development it's very has changed quite a lot, and Delphi has changed as well in all these years. But if you're still using techniques from 20 years ago, maybe that's one of the reasons why you're not finding Delphi developers. That's something I wanted to add.
And there's actually some questions I want to address as well, which is, first of all, Lauren, I'm guessing you're new here, Lauren. Hello, Lauren. Because she, and I'm guessing it's a female name, because traditionally it is, but I apologize, Lauren, if you're a guy or whatever. But it says, how does Delphi work? And I appreciate that maybe some of the people watching this webinar, probably on the playback or whatever, maybe you don't know Delphi. And it's all very well for the four of us to see it, because Marco's building in Brazil has got "We are Delphi" written on the outside, so I think he pretty much understands what Delphi is. And Alex worked on Delphi years ago, so he also knows. He did say the magic words, and I used to work on Delphi 7. So really, we should be carrying him around on some kind of chair, giving him claps, and also slapping him around a bit, because Delphi 7 was too good, and lots of people never moved away from it. So, but what is Delphi? Well, Lauren, Delphi allows you to visually design applications. You literally have a little palette of bits for a program. You can drop them onto a screen, a form that represents the visual user interface of your program, and make the functionality work. It can do anything. It's a general purpose programming language. It's very, very easy to learn. In fact, that's one of the things that both Alex and Marco are here to talk about, really, is the ease of learning it. If you know some other programming languages, Python to a certain degree, but any language that has got variables and conditional statements like if this, then this, while statements, all the rest of it, it's extremely easy to pick up. And I'll ask Alex specifically about that in a moment. But you can then write your programs to work on Windows, Mac OS, Linux, iOS, so for Apple devices, and Android. And in fact, I have an Android and I have an iOS device here, using the same code. It's very robust. Your programs don't need any extra additional things added to them. This is one of the key strengths of Delphi, is that if you write a Delphi program and you ship it out to the people in your company, let's say they've all got Windows PCs, you will probably not care what version of Windows they've got now or in 15 years' time, because Delphi will run almost certainly out of the box, and it will keep on running. So any applications you write are almost certainly going to be running in 10 to 15 years' time. In fact, it's a problem for us at Embarcadero, because people go, oh, I don't need to upgrade because my programs I wrote 20 years ago are still working, which is annoying for us, but it's great for the customers, because that's really unique in the industry. If you're new to software development, I challenge you to find another language that you can do that with. I'm not saying there aren't some, but you certainly could not take a .NET app from 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago, probably not even 2 years ago, and get that to run on the Windows 11 that you get today without doing quite a bit of work to make it work. With Delphi, you could literally have one of these thumb drives, the USB drives, have your Delphi app on there, copy it over, and it will run out of the box. I mean, it depends. If it's a cloud configuration thing, there might be some bits to add in, but it will probably run without any problems whatsoever. And that is what Delphi does for you. So as a customer, if you are someone who is looking to have some programs written for you, it's a very reliable, robust system. It means that your applications written for your business, maybe running the stock or the warehouse or invoicing or something, that it's robust and it's going to work. It's very modern language. It's got all the things you could possibly want in it that are available in other programming languages. But as a software developer, you know that creating the applications is reasonably straightforward. Alex, on that topic, you kind of mentioned to me before we started today that one of the things you do is you take companies that say, oh, we can't find developers, and you say, don't worry, I'll retrain them. Do you want to talk about exactly what that process is and how long it takes? As you've said to me before, it doesn't typically take that long to take someone who knows some coding and make them into a Delphi developer. Is that right?
Yeah, for sure. We do multiple efforts on this area. We do have training that we do that it's internal for the people that we recruit, and then where we do staff augmentation for other companies. But we also do external trainings that are not geared for people that we are or developers that we are going to hire necessarily. For example, on these external trainings, what we do is we have a program called the Aumenta Academy. These academies, we do them for Delphi, and we do it for other things that are not that easy to find, or that are new methodologies or a skill set that is not easy to find, at least here in Mexico, for example. And one of those is QA, quality assurance. Good quality assurance engineers are not easy to find, so we do academies for that. But and the ones specific for Delphi, what we do is we create a program that is going to be used, one, as a recruiting initiative aimed to revitalize the Delphi development and really empower new talent. And this, what we do is a free, high quality training to either students in the final semester or recent graduates from universities. We partner with several universities, local universities or national universities. And what we do is we submit basically a request for applicants, and out of those applicants, we actually recruit to give this free training candidates that we're going to select to provide the training. What we do is we take certified experts, MVPs, or other community recognized instructors, and that actually gives credibility to the course or to the academy that we're going to do. The format is quite simple. We do 4 hours a day over the course of 1 month. These are either offered in person or remotely. After the pandemic, everything started turning remote, so that actually broadened the audience for the applicants that we were taking. At the end of the course, the participants receive a certificate of completion, and that's where the top performing students are offered a job here at Aumenta. The structure is simple. We make sure that we structure the course in terms of getting them productive as soon as possible. We are going to take, again, developers that have a broad knowledge of languages, and we focus on core syntax, language features. Pretty much everyone that comes has graduated from a computer science course or a computer science program. So again, we show them the differences or the particularities of the language, the IDE, VCL basics, FireMonkey, and then eventually we start moving them into actual practical creation of applications. Now, you would be very surprised at how fast we can get developers up and running. Usually in between syntax and IDE, it's 1 or 2 weeks. By the second week, they are already coding in Delphi, and this is how easy it is to learn Delphi, especially if you have a technical background. Creating applications, actual practical examples. That's the rest of the time that we spend with our developers, focusing on data access, RESTful web services creation, and other features that where we need our engineers. Now, if I may, I saw one of the questions posted in the questions panel, and someone, actually Marcin, said there's a bad reputation for Delphi, and that is that the technology is outdated, which makes young people ashamed of writing in Delphi. Really, this is one of the things that here at Amenta we do. We make sure that we tell the world, starting, an academy at a time, that the technology used in Delphi is not outdated. Going back to what we were talking about earlier, which is applications written 25, 30 years ago, and that's why it feels that the technology is outdated. Yeah, 30 years ago, there were no web services. We were using VDE, we were using maybe Paradox or other databases that are now outdated. Well, with Delphi, and this is the beauty of Delphi, we have been able to maintain and to keep up with the technology. You can create RESTful web services in minutes. For example, with the database, with the automatic database endpoint creation, literally in minutes. And when I was an SE in your team, Ian, I used to have my 2-minute demo. In 2 minutes, I would be able to create a RESTful web service, web application with Sencha, and a mobile application in FireMonkey. Really, 2 minutes. I timed it so many times. And if you were to test me right now, I would do it, even though I haven't done it in about 2 years now.
It's funny, we did a contest, a genuine contest, where we hired some .NET people, and they were not slackers. We didn't go out and go, let's find the worst .NET people we can to make us look good. We actually paid top rates for the people, and there was a couple of challenges. One was to create a rich text editor, and the other one was to create a calendar app, a calculator app. And they used Eclipse, not Eclipse. What's the thing that Spotify's written in? Not Eclipse. I always get the two. The framework. Oh, you see that?
Electron? No, not Electron.
Electron.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Electron.
Electron guys. We had some .NET guys. We had some C++ guys, and me and a couple of other Delphi people. And in the time it took the Electron people to fail to get to the point where they'd done what had been asked in the spec, I wrote not one Delphi app, but 11 Delphi apps. And now I did cheat because I used some third-party frameworks for some of them. So I did a VCL app. I did a VCL Fluent UI app. I did a FireMonkey app that then worked on Mac, Linux, Android. I did a TMS Web Core web app. And then with TMS Web Core, I could do a progressive web app. And then with with TMS Web Core, I could then do a version that works on the Raspberry Pi out of the box. And then I also did a version that worked in Electron just to annoy the Electron guys. And I did that as 11 apps in the time that the Electron guys like, we're finished. I'm like, I finished ages ago. But the point wasn't to like shame other frameworks, because I don't believe that any one programming language has got all the advantages, but I do believe that we have most of the advantages when we're using Delphi, and that's the important thing. Now, this was before I became developer advocate. I was an MVP at the time, but it did emphasize the point that I was very experienced, so I did, break my user interface away from the logic of the code, so I could reuse the business logic of the calculator behind the scenes. But even so, that was just down to experience of being a developer. It wasn't down to Delphi experience. It was just that's what you do as a developer. And so, when I see these other technologies going, Delphi's outdated, it's absolute nonsense. We whooped them good, and we did it with proper statistics that were measured scientifically to make the point. And it's exactly the same thing. Is I do feel sorry for people that say, I'm worried, I'm embarrassed to talk about Delphi. We get customers who've got really good case studies who don't want to say what they use behind the scenes on the technology, not because they're embarrassed about Delphi, but just they want to keep the intellectual, property secret. But we're really good at being silently successful. We're absolutely everywhere.
Right.
As I said in my webinar, you probably interacted with a program written in Delphi today. You may not know it, but at some point today, you've probably used a Delphi program. You know, unless you've been shut in the building and not gone, and like me, actually, I haven't gone anywhere today. But you know what I mean? If you actually got a real life instead of being a developer advocate who lives in a cave, you've probably interacted with Delphi. And so it is one of the things. So Marco G, because you take existing projects sometimes and then you upgrade them, and you use AI with that as well. Is that right? Doesn't Duster have AI built in, or is it?
No, well, I can
Okay.
stick the label AI on it to hype it a bit, but now
version 2 then, yeah.
the upgrade itself, not so much. We have some rules in there. There is some stuff going on, but yeah. So we, indeed, as you said, we take on. I think what is it? Almost all of the work we do, a lot of work we do, is taking on existing applications that sometimes exist for 10, 20, 30 years, still running strong, and we take them on, keep maintaining them, but also extending them, adding new functionality, upgrading, etc. So that's the thing. That's with Delphi, it's quite easy to do, and to keep it up and running, and powering a lot of things very silently. I can't name some of these the companies that we do the work for, but they are quite well known. They're very large companies, and they completely rely on Delphi for their systems. And these are large logistics systems, banks, for example. There are so many companies relying on Delphi. But the thing is, and that was mentioned before, I think already, is that with less developers, you can do way more with Delphi. So you won't need a team of 20 developers. If you have 3 or 4 with Delphi, you can do almost the same things as with 20 with other languages. So that's also a thing. Just a couple of developers can be very effective in Delphi, especially if you do it the right way. So I don't think indeed the language itself or the tool is the problem. I think that was, if I believe, also one of the topics of the webinar itself. So where do you find the Delphi developers? And I think, as mentioned before as well, it's not difficult to teach someone Delphi. I think the difficulty here for all of us, and I think that's a job, to be honest, for all of us, so not the 4 of us, but everyone who's watching here, is to change the perspective of the language and how we talk about Delphi. So instead of being ashamed that, okay, it's Delphi, you can say, no, it is Delphi because and it's strong. Yeah, legacy sometimes has a negative sort of meaning to it, which is completely unfair, because legacy means just that it's probably bug free, that it's running for a long time, that it's proven technology. So I think we all need to maybe have somewhat changed behavior in this as well, that we can be proud of Delphi, and of the things that we develop in.
I quite often tell people when we're talking about the language, I say Rad Studio.
Yeah.
And the reason is because it confuses people, because they're like, Rad Studio, what's that? So, well, here's what it can do. And I show them me creating a Delphi, you know, they don't know it's a Delphi app, but a new VCL app, click, 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 or a new FireMonkey app. And I show them, here's my mobile app running. And that's really good. You know, you can do that. They've totally missed the point that it's actually Delphi behind the scenes that's doing it, and focus on what it can do. And that's the key thing, is what can it do, not the name Delphi. And we're not going to change from Delphi. That's what it's called. And we're not going to use Object Pascal. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what it is. But it is a problem. Some of the questions that people are saying here, you're preaching to the choir here. That's not true, actually. This webinar, the mail shot, went out to people that were not Delphi developers. We did not necessarily select people for the you know, advertising and the mail shot who were already using Delphi, because we totally get it. It's a bit of a problem if all you're doing is talking to people who already got the problem. Oh, that you're already Delphi people. Why are you telling me about this? I know what the benefits are. No, actually, we did actually go a bit wider than that. And also, we know from the replays, because just based on the registrations alone, I expect we'll actually get many thousands of replays on this. That will be going out to audiences that are not Delphi or Rad Studio people, and that's the whole point here. Is that what we're doing? My dog's about to bark at me. Noise cancelling can't completely cancelling him out. What can you do? So what are we saying here? Yeah, I mean, Hamid was saying, oh, there are fewer people using Delphi compared to when? Compared to the days of Delphi 7? Yes, I'm not going to lie. Of course, there are fewer people. But last year, in a year where there was a global recession that was very, like my president, of course, a few little issues. I didn't vote for it, but you know what I mean. Let's just say the market for inter-country trade got a little bit volatile. We still managed to actually sell more than we did before and get more new customers and more new developers, and that is quite unusual, I think, for any tech company in the last 12 months. So I'm not saying that we are going to reach the levels of Delphi 7 and Delphi 1. That would be great. I'd be waking up going, oh my God, I can't believe it. That's not going to happen. But what I think is possible is if you look at those indexes, and not just TIOBE, but several others as well, we are getting up there. We are not going to reach the levels of Delphi 7 and Delphi 1 unless I go and pay people to buy the product. That's how it works. But that doesn't mean to say that we're down by any means, and we're definitely not out. And I don't think we have anything to apologize for in terms of popularity. The CE version has really helped a lot. Someone was saying, what about colleges and schools? We have an outreach program for that. Alex is involved in that, and so is Antonio. I think you've been doing some stuff with that as well. And yeah, and we also have people like Landerson in Brazil and a few other countries as well. We are Germany and the Benelux countries are showing quite a lot of significant interest. But more importantly, one guy emailed me a few weeks ago who used to be Niklaus Worth's assistant, his lab assistant. And this is what he told me. He said this, and he said, oh, by the way, I just wanted you to know I'm going to be teaching Delphi at Brown's University, which is a very, and by the way, they're not, Brown's University, legal disclaimer, they're not endorsing us here, but that's what he was going to teach at. He's going to teach computer science and using Delphi. And I thought, of course you worked with Niklaus Worth, yeah, I'm sure you did. Actually, I checked it, but he's the real deal. He really did work with Niklaus Worth. So there are people who are choosing to teach Delphi. It's an uphill struggle, and I'm working very, very hard to make that happen. And so people like Alex and Antonio and actually Marco as well to try and make these things happen. So we're not fools. We know what the issues are for some people, but what we're here to talk about today is about what to do if you are a company that's got a Delphi product, but you haven't got Delphi developers, or if you're a Delphi developer, and more importantly, you're looking for some Delphi work, where we can go to do about that, or what we can do about that. There was a question about the average age of developers that you have. I think, well, I'll ask Marco G first, because I kind of know, because I've seen some of your people, and it depends on which country as well, doesn't it? What would you say is typical?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think the average age for us is younger maybe than someone expects. So for I think if I read correctly between the lines there, so we have quite a young team. In the Netherlands, it's maybe somewhere between 25, 30 years old. Internationally, it's a bit, well, the UK is a bit older. We have a team in Brazil, which, as you can expect, is way younger again, because especially in Brazil, there are so many young people, young developers starting with Delphi.
I do feel very, very old when I go to the Brazilian developers conference. I feel like I
Exactly.
should be
Yeah.
walking with a little stick or something.
Well, yeah. So it depends, but I think if you talk to developers and you can explain why Delphi is so strong, they will usually, what my experience is at least, want to join the team. And sometimes it's not only the language, but as you said, Ian, before, or I don't know who said it, Antonio, I think, it's not specifically the language, but also what you build and how you build it. So don't do the same things as you did 20, 30 years ago. Make sure that you do proper unit testing, that you follow maybe solid principles, clean code, etc., etc. That's all possible with Delphi. So there's absolutely no reason to do it the same way as you've done 20, 30 years ago. So average age for us is to be honest not that old.
Yeah. Alex, what's your experience in terms of age groups and things like that? I think it's quite broad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite broad. We have two groups of developers. My Delphi experts, gurus. Some of them are actually MVPs. The average there would be around 45, and we have the group of new developers, young developers, and that the age group would be about 25. So there is a split there when it comes to ages. Usually my experts take on, for example, the migrations of applications from an older version of Delphi to the newer one, because you really need to be an expert in terms of how to do a migration when it comes to migrating components and many other things. And the younger group usually focuses on the newer applications that we write, the applications that interact with AWS, the applications that are hosted in Azure, the applications that really use all of the new technologies.
Yeah, and I think actually a couple of people were saying here they went to a US event and lots of old people there, which I object to because not a lot of people know this, but I'm actually 10 years older than Jim McKee. Somebody thought we were the same age, which amused me immensely, but I'm actually 10 years older than him. And I get it, if you go to the UK, I think that's a market that is dominated by older people. I don't want to say old people because that's not fair, but older, more mature, yeah, more experienced people. Apart from Antonio, who's based in the UK, who's clearly the outlier there in terms of being young and youthful and all the rest of it.
Well,
Well, I think on this panel, I'm probably the oldest, so there you go. But I think the US, I think is true. I mean, Stephen Bullas is mentioning about age. I think the US and the UK are probably parallel in terms of age, but when we go to different events, and we are looking to do some US events again, and we're going to do an AI event actually, and I think we're inviting Marco to come on and speak at the AI event. He's been doing his own, but we're going to run one in the US ourselves. Just steal his idea. There you go. And a good idea is a good idea, Marco.
Why not?
But
Sure.
when we get the events, it is very much a market thing. But the thing is, it doesn't matter. What's relevant here is the underlying technology for the customers to choose. What is it that you're doing here? You're not writing a program. You're solving a problem, or you're producing a product. And if a customer is thinking about producing an app, and it's a desktop app, for example, or even a mobile app, why would you have two teams writing your mobile app, or maybe even three teams? So you got one working for the Windows team, one working for the Android team because they're Java people or something like that, and one working for the iOS team because they are Swift or, God forbid, Objective-C developers. Why would you go for three teams when you could actually have one team or maybe two teams? Because you cannot really take a desktop app and just make that magically a mobile app. So I can see that there might be two teams, one that specializes in desktop, one that specializes in mobile. But if you're using Rad Studio, there's absolutely no reason why that can be one team, you know, if they're multidisciplinary, or it could be even one developer or two developers who are producing the apps. Because why would you go ahead and say, well, let's hire a Java guy to do the Android app, and let's hire a different one to do the iOS app, pay them an absolute fortune, when you could have one person doing both iOS and Android with Delphi, one set of code, half the time, half the bugs, half the testing to go through. And you say, well, yes, but I can't find Delphi programmers. Well, look, there's some people in this forum now who are actually saying, you know, contact us and we'll find people for you. And if we can't find people, show us a developer you like the look of, and we'll turn them into a Delphi person. The mobile development course that we have on Embarcadero Academy that I wrote, the first probably half of it, you don't like write a single line of code because you don't need to. You can make a mobile app with Delphi, click, 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 and it will do 90% of the functionality. There might have been 5 lines of code or something, but that's the strength of the thing. Is it is extremely powerful. And you know, oh no, we're just going to use web technology to create a mobile app. That's a completely stupid idea. It's, you know, it's really
one of the risks of that, of course, is that you don't follow the right principles. I think that was one of the questions in the chat as well, that because it's so easy to create an application in Red Studio or in Delphi, you have the risk that you put your code right behind the on-click, so that you intertwine your business logic with your graphical interface. And I think so. There's always a trade-off with that. So yes, it is really easy to create an app, but if you get something bigger than just a demo, you have to be very careful in not mixing these things. So yes, it's really easy to create something like that, but there again, it helps if you're a good developer and separate business logic and graphical interfaces, etc. So yeah, that's maybe another thing, and maybe it's also good to go through some of the questions, because I think we need to address some of these as well.
There's good questions. One of the questions that has kind of been asked in 3 different ways really is, and actually this kind of comes back to one of the things that someone else asked me about, which is where do they advertise to get Delphi, people who are already Delphi developers? And someone's saying they use Indeed. I'm going to ask this question to the audience, which is, if there was a place we could get that would be an official Delphi jobs focused board, and we've done this in the past, and not everybody goes to the idea, but if there was somewhere where we could at least focus jobs, would that be something that people get on board with? Because we've done it in the past, and the problem is, if people don't adopt it, then it looks bad. Because if they don't use that, but they use Indeed, then people go, well, there's no jobs on the official Delphi jobs board. If it was free, for example, to advertise on there, looking for Delphi jobs or looking for, you know, Delphi developers, would this be something that people would be interested in? It would need a lot more discussion about how it could be done, but you know, it comes up every now and again, and because that's something that Gamal is asking for. Gamal, I don't know what country you're in, but I'm going to guess based on your name, it's not in the United States or the UK. Email me and tell me what your country is and where you're looking for, because people like Alex and Marco and even actually Antonio's got a few connections as well, can hook you up with the right people. Couple of people saying about marketing. Delphi was marketing badly with a fully working database program, but I don't agree with that.
Also, I want to add
we marketed Delphi in a weird way, and I disagree. I think that, you know, Delphi was marketing in one particular way in the past, and it's marketed in a different way now. So, and someone's saying .NET MAUI is now the same, one code for different platforms. No, it's not actually. I don't know whether Alex or anybody wants to make a point about that, but
I mean, are we talking about Maui, Xamarin, or which
Yeah,
name
yeah,
is like the current one? Because there has been
yeah.
quite a lot of free rides about the multi-platform solution for .NET.
For
So
sure, yeah. Xamarin Forms, Maui, yeah. It's completely different from what we know from Delphi. You have a framework that you stick with, and that it's going to work for years and years and years. And with the technology side of on .NET, you have to switch every so often, a couple of years, and you don't know if the technology that you picked is going to still be the current one. So, yeah.
Actually, a couple of people here saying, Raina Harrington is saying they're looking to hire Delphi developers in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So that's very interesting. Raina, I'm going to take your email down and see if I can hook you up with some people as well. Thanks for that. Don says it's from the USA. Is there a particular question you want to pick out there, Marco? Because you were mentioning them. There's quite a few of them, but they tend to be the same thing, which is I
Exactly,
use
yeah.
Delphi, brilliant, or I don't use Delphi because I some random reason, or I can't find jobs. I mean, if this was something that we did, if the company was to produce some way of concentrating as many job portals as we can into one place, would that be something that people are interested in? There is an MVP that does that already. It's Darian Miller. Darian Miller does that. He's the Ideas Awaken guy. He puts jobs that he sees up on his website. But I've had a few people say about the idea of having an official portal. Would it attract traffic in? I don't know is the short answer. And is it something we would even want to get involved in, Embarcadero? But if it's an idea, if people want to let me know, ian.barker@embarcadero.com is my email address. Feel free to tell me what you think about it. Rick is unhappy. He said it was we were doing too much programming talk and has left. I don't know what he was talking about. What programming talk did we talk about? I don't think we've mentioned any programming talk. Yeah, such a site should be open. Yes, I absolutely think
For sure.
that if it's a job site, I think this is my take on this, because when I was a contractor, before I worked for the company, I obviously looked for work. And Indeed was very useful. But the problem with Indeed is that the filter is a bit weird. So if you filtered for Delphi, you get a lot of hotel jobs because there's a front-end hotel management package that's unfortunately called Delphi. And so you get, like hotel receptionist jobs. It looks a bit weird. You're like, yeah,
Or Delphi Automotive,
also,
yeah.
work on a hotel reception, something like that.
there's also an automotive software called
Delphi
Delphi.
Automotive. Yep.
Oh, is that?
Yeah. So we
So-
regularly get questions. So can we help them with connecting some old software to their truck? So oh no, that's again about something completely different.
wrong Delphi.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Stephen Sneed says he's retiring in a year after 20 years in his current position, and he needs to find a replacement for him. So, Stephen, I'm going to take your details as well. I'll make sure I'll put you in touch with two of our experts here, who I'm sure can fight it over what region you're in and whether they're. Regarding versions, I purchase latest versions even if I don't use them to keep Embarcadero alive. Michael, I want to just thank you for your question there. So I'll read that again. Regarding versions, I purchase the latest versions even if I don't use them to keep Embarcadero alive. Look, thank you for your charity. I really appreciate it. But one thing about Idea is, okay, that people sometimes complain and say the price should be this, we should do, a subscription model, whatever. Idea managed to keep Embarcadero and therefore Delphi going much longer than almost any other company was able to do. Borland didn't succeed. Borland sold it and basically disappeared. They still exist in name, but they're owned by someone else. I can't remember who. And
Microphone.
Code Gear and all the others also went by the wayside and disappeared. And the Code Gear name lives on. It's a name that we own as a trademark, and so we have a website for it. But Idera are financially sound. They are not going anywhere. And Embarcadero is also, we are not struggling. You know, look, I haven't got a Porsche parked outside, okay? So just to be clear, you know, but
I want to add something to this because I have the feeling, as Marco Cantu said the other day in London, I think Rad Studio and Delphi specifically is silently successful.
That was my
which
phrase.
is, yeah, or yours. I don't know. I heard it from Marco, but
I came up with
he
it.
stole it from you. And I think that's very, I think that's very on point because there are thousands, literally thousands of companies using Delphi and having applications running on a daily basis successfully. The problem is that a lot of people say, I don't see many, I'm not talking now specifically about jobs, but just comments anywhere about what's going on with Delphi. And that's something that us from Embarcadero, we cannot improve much, which is the concept of community. So when was the last time you went, for example, to an event, and I'm saying you as the general audience, no one specifically,
yeah,
that you went to an event and posted something on social media? Or when was the last time you went on GitHub and helped a Delphi project and pushed a commit? When was the last time you posted something on as well on GitHub saying, hey, cool work here, I'm going to start your project? That's something that from our side we're going to do. That's a community driven effort. And I'm going to ask you to do those little details because they really help to give them, not to give the impression, but to actually prove that Delphi is still valid. I understand that we're all very busy in our daily lives and we just want to work and do our things. But those little details really help to build a community and tackle that legacy vibe that people keep thinking that Delphi is. So if you're using we have an insane amount of open source projects on GitHub that are maintained by communities or by companies as well. If you're using one of those, just go and maybe if you find a bug, just send a pull request and try to help them, or start their project, or post a comment on the forum if they have the discussion open. Just those little details that literally take you minutes really help to tackle that legacy vibe. Just wanted to add that.
Yeah, and actually that is a fact, and it's one of the things that obviously is my job to try and do that as well. And Marco G does a very good job as well of you know, making communities happen, and so does Alex in his own area as well. I mean, they're both kind of different areas, but similar things. And this is the thing that you know, just people, like I say, the webinar and the blog post I did about who uses Delphi had a massive response, because I think there's a lot of Delphi developers out there going, oh, I want to, am I the only one? And then you go there and I spend an hour and a half pointing out exactly how many people do use it. It's absolutely everywhere. You don't realize every single airport you go to, when you hear the overhead announcements, that's a Delphi app doing that. Nearly, there's 3.5 to 4 million people in the UK who clock in. They use fingerprint scanners, hand scanners. They're all behind me here. Those employees have no idea they're using a Delphi app. You know, every TV advertising that you get in the United States, virtually every single one is delivered by a Delphi app. And now Wide Orbit do that, and they're very good at saying that they use Delphi, but it is frustrating that people, you know, think that we're not, you know, it's a language not being used. It's being used very heavily. We're just not very vocal. We should almost make it compulsory. If you use it, you've got to put a badge on your app, you know, or just make it happen. You know, when they run it, every 10th launch goes up and says, this is made with Delphi. It would be great. It's it is what it is. Thomas Judd says, how do you guys sell Delphi to developers who are used to automated memory management? So what Thomas is talking about there is languages that do garbage collection.
I assume so.
So
yeah.
you can create variables and they just auto die and then collect up. For my part, I'll just say what I say, and you guys can have your say, which is I say that there are pros and cons to automatic memory management. If you code to interfaces, which is one of those things that is Nick Hodges' particular hobby horse, then if you create an interface and you code to an interface, then you've got automatic memory management, because as soon as that thing goes out of scope, you're not losing memory. But also using inline variables, which is a fairly recent thing, which I absolutely hated when they first came out. As a Delphi purist, I'm like, I'm never using those ever. Force me, I won't use them. And now I use them all the time, because you can infer the type, and they've got automatic life control. Very, very good. So how do you sell the idea of differences in Delphi? I don't know whether, Marco, you want to go first or
Well, yeah, indeed, as you said, if you really want, you can still do it. Interfaces exist for, what is it, from Delphi 3 or so? They
Yeah,
exist
I think
for,
so.
and also for a very long time. And by the way, we love them, so we use it quite a lot. Interfaces for various things. So yes, it's really helpful. In the end, I don't know if that really makes a difference in the end. If someone, so will you not use a language because it has a different memory management system? I don't think so. It's maybe, yeah, getting used to that, to maybe a different way of thinking. And if you wanted to, you still can, as you said, you still can use interfaces. So memory managed objects. I don't, to be honest, I don't see that to be an issue.
Yeah, I mean, we did have automatic memory management on things, and then that was decided it was a very bad idea, and I think it still does it with mobile apps. I forget how it's done, but it's just one of those things where it's like saying, well, how do you get away with not having to force indentation like Python? It's a different language. I mean,
Right.
you do your Python thing and we do the Delphi thing. They're, oh, how do you get away with having strongly typed variables? Well, that's how the language works. I mean, we like that about Delphi. It's not, we don't see that as a downside. And actually, in JavaScript, one of the biggest things that people moan about is that you haven't got strong typing. That's why TypeScript was invented by the guy that invented Delphi, and solves some of the issues that you get with JavaScript, which is a great language, but a hell of a mess when it comes to writing code. Anybody who's written any JavaScript for more than just trivial stuff, they have about as much hair left as I do, even if they're in their 20s. They ripped it all out. So
That's why I keep
Yeah.
mine. I don't touch JavaScript, not even with a stick.
That's my fault as well.
That's your fault, Marco.
So as you wrote in your very good guidebook. Yeah. So let me. Martin asked AI how many Delphi programmers are there, and the AI said, while precise numbers are hard to pin down, estimates suggest there are roughly 1 million to 6 million active Delphi developers worldwide. This number is smaller compared to more popular languages like C#, estimated around 6 million. Well, hang on, they're saying Delphi could be between 1 and 6 million.
1
and
and
they're
6.
saying C#. So, all right, I would say it's less than 6 million. I want to be completely transparent. I'd say 3.5 million to maybe 5 million. We don't know precisely, but we've got some reasonable ideas in the country. But Delphi remains a significant force, especially in the specific industry niches. And that's from, he didn't say what AI asked, but it was obviously a very sensible one, because it said we're a great language. So good job. Michael says he needs to be more intentional about community. Yes, help us, and we will do what we can. in the US, in order to get RAD Studio in front of new developers, we need to sponsor senior college projects at our local universities. You specify the language for the project. Well, this is Microsoft's game plan. What Microsoft do is they have a war chest. This is my observation from the outside. So the caveat there is maybe they don't do it this way. But my understanding is that Microsoft go and they give money to a college course and say, well, they don't like give them, well, I don't think they give them wads of money, but they go and say, we'll kit you out with whatever you need and teach people how to use Microsoft technologies, which is perfectly reasonable, perfectly legal, but it does mean that it's a bit of a bias towards Microsoft technologies. We go to universities and we can offer them things as well, incentives. So we do an academic program, you pay a very reasonable small fee, and then you can get enough licenses to cover all your courses. You can use a CE version if it's appropriate as well. And we'll give you resources like training manuals. People like Antonio and myself can appear virtually for video chats and things like that. If you are a university, if you're watching now and you're an educator and you want people like me to come along virtually, not physically unless you're just up the road in Dallas, but if you want me to turn up virtually, I will talk about development in general terms rather than bias it towards Embarcadero. But I am quite happy to inspire developers because I want people, I think it's the greatest job in the world. And I think that anybody who's learning development, I'm quite happy to go and talk to them. Now, if during that talk they decide to look at Delphi and adopt it as a development language, oh, that's great. But that's the secret, is getting the hearts and minds of the people to get them interested in development, and don't be biased. I think that choose whatever programming language works for you. But our job as a company is to make it clear that RAD Studio with Delphi is probably the answer to your problems in most cases. Not all of them, but most cases, RAD Studio with Delphi is going to be the way to develop programs.
And I think especially now that it's, so you have the community edition, you have the academy project, or program. So there's no really a need, and maybe that is also something that we all need to push more. If there's a student or someone who's not a professional developer but looking to just create for his own some stuff, whatever it is, web apps or mobile apps or Windows apps, they can simply do that by just using the community edition. As long as you use it like that, so you're a student, then that helps as well for the language in general. So there's absolutely no need to take another one. I think another language, yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, we're getting more people coming up saying they're looking for Delphi developers. Those of you that can see the chat questions, I'm pinging those chat questions so you can see the answers. But Becky Dolin, sorry, this bright light shining my eyes, says they are we're upgrading from Delphi 7. Oh, I wonder what country they're in. That sounds like a job for one of you two guys there. And they're a small business. They have 4 Delphi programmers and would like to hire 2 more experienced developers and get some consultancy help, probably. Any suggestions or referrals will be appreciated. Becky, I've already replied, but I took your email and I'll pass it on to Marco and Alex as well, because that may be something they can help you with. I'll let them fight it out behind the scenes. No knives and no stabbing in the face. Fingers, okay, guys. It depends on the region. I think the fairest way is, split it up per region. They don't quite overlap, so it's pretty good. Is that right, Alex? You're kind of more south, and Marco G is more north. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah, good. Thank God for that. Then there won't be scratching each other's eyes out next time we meet at some event somewhere. So. And Antonio, well, Antonio's Antonio. So
I just wanted to add that we launched a few months ago the Getting Started guide that was available for all.
Oh yes, I'm a terrible advocate. I forget these things.
For all the customers on active subscriptions, so they could download it for free on Get It. There's a new section on books, and you can download for free. But
yeah, so you go into the IDE. tools,
Yeah.
get it package manager, and then there's a little radio button at the bottom that says books, and click on that, and we'll go from there. Stephen says, hi, Ian, can you ascertain where Becky is and let me know? Stephen, I will, if Becky's okay with it, I'll pass on your email address to her as well. I know Stephen, he's one of my frequent flyers on the webinar, so I've got his email address already. He's on my do not deal with him list. I'm only kidding, Stephen. Yeah, okay. So yeah, that book from the Get It Package Manager is a great book. We are looking that we're probably going to try and expand it out and give it away to a few more people.
Yeah.
I understand why they did it in the Get It Package Manager. We had a little bit of big discussion about whether that was a good idea or not, because it was kind of people that were already using the product and they get given a book about it, which didn't really, kind of like a cart before the horse kind of situation.
Yeah, the idea is, I don't know if I can say this freely already, but anyway, the idea is to make it more open.
Blame me, I can take
yeah,
the flag.
so people that are using the trial, or people that are on community edition, because that's the kind of people that we need to aim for a getting started book. And also, it's a book that, as I mentioned, we wrote internally, and is aimed for people that have no experience with Delphi specifically, or rather Studio, but they know programming. So if you're in that situation where you know a good developer and you want to share that book with them, I think it's a great tool, of course, apart from Alex and microservices. But this one is a book you can download, and you have examples, for example, comparing .NET with Delphi, or Java with Delphi, and also showing the whole idea, not to the very specific, very detail, but we talk about the IDE, how it works. We talk about FireDAC, RAD server, VCL, FileMonkey, and the multi-platform compilers we offer. So if you're an active subscription, please download it, because I think it's a great resource. And if you're not an active subscription, stay tuned, because ideally things will change soon.
I'm going to make it happen. Put my name on it.
Good.
Yeah, I always say things like this, and people go, "Don't you ever get in trouble?" I'm like, I don't care. I mean, I do care. I don't want to lose my job, but I think it's unlikely people will fire me for doing my job, which is to get the information out to the right people. At the end of the day, what's important here is that we disseminate the right information to the right people, and I think that encouraging. I understand why they put the book in the way they did, but we also need to make sure that we're getting that kind of information in front of people before they purchase, to make them to help them decide that you know, RAD Studio is a product for them as well. So that's a good thing. Christine Claudio says upgrading from a later version to a newer version. So an older version to a newer version, I think. I mean, can you share the options, USA and Latin America region? I'm not quite sure I understand your question. What are the options? Do you mean in terms of automated, or do you mean in terms of manual upgrade? Let me just say, and we will answer this now so other people can see the question. In terms of automation, there is MIDA converter, which will do some things, but really the easiest thing is to work out what components you've got. That's the first start. What are you using that's non-standard Delphi? So what did you buy in from somewhere else? And if you did, do you have those components or libraries or whatever in your new version? That's stage one. Because if you suddenly open a form that's got a whole bunch of TMS controls and like the 1950s or whenever you know your app was written, you're going to find there's going to be a problem. But even if you have got the new versions, it's not as simple as just opening it and expecting it to work, because things move around, people change properties and stuff like that. If you're talking about getting outside help, then these two people here, Marco G and Alex, are both, that's the area that they work in. It says USA and Latin American region, so I'm going to suggest it might be Alex, but if it's Brazil, then Marco G is going to be able to help you. What I'm going to do is be quite fair and send them both email, and then they can work it out from there. I don't know whether you guys are okay with that or not, but
For sure.
Yeah, of course.
yeah. I try not to be too uneven-handed, but you know, at the end of the day, Martin, who asks a lot of questions, and he's actually quite often pops up in the other ones, which is we're talking about the problems. I think most of us want to get the simple answer: where to find Delphi programmers, and the answer is go to the community page on the main Embarcadero site for your region. You'll see there are different options. So if you look for South America, I think you'll see like Spanish language ones and things like that. If you're UK, then you'll see UK developers group and a few other things as well. Go there, and I would suggest join up the social media networks. Prepare yourself, because if you're not a regular Facebook user or something like that, you're in for a shock, because Facebook is not the warm and comfy place it used to be years ago. Antonio, whilst you're looking there, because I'm guaranteed, based on the shiny light on your face, that you just went to the right page to check.
I was trying, but I was I was halfway.
Yeah, I think it might be on the blogs actually. But anyway, what I would suggest is, if you're looking for Delphi developers to start off with, the best place is to go to the developer groups for your region, because you're going to find at least there a bunch of developers who are probably looking for work. And I would say that's one place. The other place is LinkedIn. It is extremely, I find it a very sedate version of Facebook, business Facebook, I call it, in the sense that there's less of that kind of my neighbour's got dogs and I want to have him sent to jail kind of thing that you get in Facebook, and much more about, you know, people saying open to work. If you search for Delphi, you'll find Delphi groups on LinkedIn. Instagram is another place where there are some Delphi groups, but there's also Signal, there's Telegram, you name it, Discord, there are groups on there. So first
Slack.
of all, look in those groups. Secondly, contact one of these two guys here, because they are also in that market and can help you out. And if
Maybe it's also good, Ian, sorry, maybe it's good to just show, or I'm more than happy to share my email address as well, but maybe for the both of us somehow do that, because it's not only that, yeah, sorry, it's not only that we sometimes, so we as GDK Software, we provide Delphi services, but to companies. So we help them with our Delphi expertise. But sometimes we also get inquiries from companies who are looking for a developer within the company. So they're looking for an employee instead of services that we provide. So it helps, for me, it helps as well to get to know everyone who's looking for a job, because sometimes we are not really we can't help the company because our services are maybe too expensive, or they're looking to have someone in company, so as an employee, and then it helps to just forward these details to or share it on LinkedIn, as you said. So it's always good to share it with, I think, the both of us, Alex as well, maybe Antonio as well, because yeah, we know quite a lot of companies. Sometimes we can help them, sometimes we can't, and then we can just pass it on. So I'm more than happy to help with that as well.
I put both your email addresses in the chat window, so that people can see in there. Alex, your Augmenta one, that's the correct one, isn't it?
Let me see, where's the chat window?
axruiz@augmenta.mx.
That is correct, yes.
Good, I didn't share your private email address. That's always a plus.
I can't see it, by the way. So mine is the easiest is marco@gdksoftware.com.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I've probably given out your private one now, haven't I? Well, there you go.
No worries.
You're going to get signed up to some mailing list. Good luck. So Marco at GDK Software. Did you say .com?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to put that in the chat as well, just so that I'm out. And then Antonio, for those that need it, Antonio. I can never say it the way that Antonio says it.
You can read it in my name.
Zapata at Embarcadero.com. And if you want to bother him, please do, because that will be hilarious. 1,000 emails to Antonio. And then by now, I think most people know my email address based on the reaction I get at weird places like airports where I'm trying to Dero.com when I'm trying to have a coffee and 5 Delphi people come up and talk to me about Delphi. So there's my email address. Now look, anybody wants to get in touch, any questions to do with this, we didn't want this to be a kind of let's show you some slides and you know, lecture you. What we wanted was a genuine discussion to try and flesh it out. We're probably going to do another one of these again in the future if you two are up for it, because we had quite a lot of people registering for this, and you know, based on the feedback that we've got, I think it's definitely worth us doing another one again, and I'll make sure I've got a slide next time with your emails on as well, so that everybody knows how to bother you. So the short answer is, the summary is here. First of all, as Alex has said, you know, maybe a week to 2 weeks of intense, you know, learning. They can't just slack off. It's no good them just like reading a little bit and, you know, fiddling around hoping for the best, but some proper learning put behind it. And they'll actually be credible Delphi developers in the sense that they can write some Delphi code that's meaningful. It's not going to be the same kind of code you get for someone who's been doing it for 20 odd years. It'll be way better than that. No, really, it will be, but it will be credible. And within 6 months, which is my experience, within 6 months, you'll never understand how you did without these people. A good developer is a good developer. The language is almost irrelevant. I can programming in at least 9 languages that I can think of. I've been a C programmer, C++. Fourth, there's a language that nobody ever uses, COBOL, you know, you name it. But Delphi, the minute I saw Delphi, I just went, that makes sense. And, you know, I think we've talked about that cross-training is not difficult. The other thing is that you know, finding the Delphi developers is a combination of looking in the community pages and things like that, going to the idea of potentially having a website where maybe we allow people with, you know, the ability to list themselves and say, hey, I'm looking for work, and hey, I'm looking for developers. I mean, I've got a group of people already that I've listed here who I've took their email addresses are literally saying we're looking for Delphi developers. So there are people out there. It's just we need to surface them up a little bit and help them along. Marco G as well as kind of really chimed in and said the same thing, which is, you know, your workforce is not a bunch of 60 plus, you know, old men. You know, I mean, maybe there are a few, but mostly the workforce is relatively young and straightforward. And I think that's the thing, that's a perception I try and correct, is that Delphi is, the whole point about Delphi is it's so easy to program. It's so frustrating when someone says, I can't find Delphi people. Grow your own, you know, and oh, I can't take this project and do something with it. Well, there's more than one resource to do it. So I'm going to go round anti-clockwise and ask for some final words. Antonio, put you on the spot first, because I know you're never short of something to say. What's your kind of final take on the things before we quit a day?
I'm just going to reinforce the same message I said earlier, that pay attention to the kind of job applications you create, and post something that you would be interested in working for. Because as I said, it's not all about money when it comes to developers, and it's not all about one specific language either. So if you have a modern project and you're following modern practices and your project is appealing, I'm sure that developers will be interested in working with you. And as we've discussed in this webinar, a good developer is going to get Delphi very, very quickly.
Yeah,
that will be my summing up.
Yeah, and actually, oh, he's gone. The Andrew Chess, just as I was typing a reply to me saying he's recently unemployed as a Delphi developer. Where do I go to find Delphi jobs? And I'm trying to tell him and say, hey, dude, send us your email and I'll hook you up. But no, he's left. So Andrew, you peaked too soon. You shouldn't have left when you did. There you go. Alex, is your opportunity to have your little say here, and then we'll finish with Marco G. We hear more than enough from me every time.
Thank you so much. Well, and thank you for the invitation, Ian, Antonio. I enjoy these sessions a lot. I miss them when I was an SC. I got to talk to a lot of Delphi users all the time. I don't have that opportunity anymore, so I appreciate the invitation. We open our academies and training courses for Delphi with this phrase: if the only tool that you know how to use is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So knowing more, knowing more tools, having the right tool for the task is very important. And like we have been saying during this session, Delphi is the right tool for so many things. You can create so many applications and so many types of applications with Delphi. You can go full backend, middleware, and front end with Delphi so easily. And this is what we need to promote. And the promotion is not up to the four of us. The promotion is to the Delphi community. So I urge all attendees to follow Antonio's advice, and let's be promoters and let's be active users in our communities for Delphi. Thank you.
Sorry about that, coughing all over your words at the end of it. Yeah. And Marco G, go for it. What would you be your final?
What should I add? I think everyone said it quite well. It's Delphi is everywhere, and we just have to pay attention. And I think if we all be a little bit more attentive and show the world that what Delphi can do, I think that in the end will help us all, both the people that are working and looking for a job, and the companies that are looking for Delphi developers. There are so many ways, and I think we've touched upon that quite a lot. There are so many ways of getting in touch with each other. So yeah, make sure that everyone knows that Delphi is alive. I think that's one of the main points. And once we do that, then we'll be in touch, and people who are looking for a job can find a job, because Delphi is still everywhere, and will continue for a long time.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to put the address of the Delphi Summit in the chat as well, because Marco G runs that. Best event in Europe. If you live in Europe and you can go to it, you definitely should go to the Delphi Summit, particularly if you're looking for coders, or you're looking for some help on a project, or you are a coder and you're looking for a job, because everybody's going to be there in one place. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there both days hanging out. I think Antonio's going to be there. Sorry, Antonio, I forgot you were going to be there. And Marco G is going to be there because he's a boss man of the event. So, but it is a great event, and this is what we want more of these kind of events around. Alex runs his own events as well in his region, I understand. And I mean, I've got a cold now because I went and met other humans who do Delphi development, which is a side effect, but it's a good side effect to have, because I'm in a room there with a whole bunch of people all about Delphi, and it was a Delphi event, not anything else. And more of that is needed, I think, to reassure people. Look, I get it. The problem is we were so successful with Delphi 1 up to Delphi 7. People look back on those days and judge us against those days, and that's a really frustrating thing. Judge us against what we're doing now, and say, actually, never mind how it was in Delphi 1. I get it. That was a different time. Look at the computers that are available in the days of Delphi 1. They're ludicrously out of date by now. Nobody's using those kind of PCs. We had no mobile phones, no internet. Now we've got all of those things, and we're still around. And not only are we still around, but there are lots and lots of projects out there. It's just they're actually pretty silently successful, as as the phrase is. So, don't be disheartened if you are a Delphi person and feeling a bit sorry for yourself. Join some of the social networks, join the communities, join in and have a go, and you'll feel a lot better. And if you've got a project that needs Delphi help, there's 2 people here that are more than willing to help you out, but also you can grow your own staff as well if you have to. And some of the commenters have said it took them a few months. One person said it took them up to a year before they felt the person was generating an income, which I find that seems a little bit slow to me. I would be a bit worried if my guy wasn't generating money after a year, but yeah, there is an average. It's not everybody's going to be up to speed within 2 weeks, like some kind of coding demon.
And it depends, of course, on how the application is structured.
Exactly.
For sure.
I was about to say that.
That's one of the biggest things. If you have an application which exists for 30 years with millions of lines of code, and it's not structured the way you would do maybe right now, then yes, it can take a lot longer. But then it's not really learning the language; it's learning the actual code base.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
makes a difference. So
yeah.
And if you're not a developer, as you said, okay, if you're not a developer and you start yes, then it can take a year.
Actually, he's updated his comment to say this person was not a developer when they began. Well, yeah, we didn't say take somebody who doesn't know anything about development and they'll be ready in 2 weeks. It takes a little bit more time. So
if
in that
only
for sure
a year, I think that's a success.
A year, yeah, going from 0 to
well done to them. After 12 months, they were up and running. So yeah,
right.
great. Character was what I wanted. After 9 months, he was teaching me. Great, fantastic,
Nice.
Michael. Thanks for that. I really appreciate it. I was a little bit skeptical when you're like, it took a year. I'm like, really? Wow, okay.
Yeah.
But if they start from scratch, that's amazing. There's nothing better. I get to give out licenses from time to time. And last year there were 2 people I gave licenses to. One person was over 100. I think they were nearly 100 years old. And the other person was 9 years old. And the reason I did that was I wanted to see what effect it would have if someone was very, very young or someone was kind of old, and most people would say they're too old to try new things. And both of them were actually successful. Later on this year, I'm planning to do an article, a follow-up on them. I hope the 100-year. I haven't actually checked recently. I'm assuming the 100-year-old is around. Actually, my apologies to his family, not, because I'm sure they would laugh along with me. They had a great sense of humour. They would laugh and say, "Well, no, I'm still here. I'm not dead or anything," But certainly the 9-year-old knew nothing. He'd started learning at school, and he was a friend of his father was a friend of Richard Hatherall, and they said, how would it work out? And I said, perfect. Let's see. Give him a license and see what happens. And so, I'm interested to see. Maybe they dropped out of using coding now. I don't know. But I was 14 when I knew that's what I wanted to do. I've never looked back. It was the best job in the world. And now I get to do it every single day. Why am I always happy? Why not? Of course I am. I'm a very lucky guy. All right. Well, thank you, all of you, all 3 of you. I appreciate it. It's Marco G from GDK Software. Thanks very much. Alex Ruiz, I think I said it correctly, from Aumenta. Is that how you pronounce your company name?
That is, yep.
Yeah.
That is right.
Antonio Zapata from Embarcadero, and myself from Embarcadero as well, Ian Barker. Thanks for joining us, and we probably will do another one of these again with some specific answers, because you asked some great questions. I will keep the questions log. But until next time, thanks very much. See you around. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Thanks.